All right, Metal Monday. Is it? It's not the last one. It's the one before Halloween, though. And we're about a week out. We were just saying this. We're about a week out to go to SEMA with our converter reclaim crew. So let's just start there. What are the PGMs doing, Brett?
They're off this morning. Not by a lot. I mean, last week was, decent.
We had some gains last week.
We did. We kind of bounced off, off the 19s, back up in 2000s on palladium.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, platinum's been holding its own, which is good. I mean, it was off a few bucks this morning. Rhodium's still holding its own around that 13.4, 13.5 number. So obviously that's a big item for us to pay attention to. But the PGMs in general. So we watch the base metals pretty hard: copper, aluminum.
Mm-hmm. That's usually
nickel.
what we lead with on the Metal Monday.
Yeah.
We don't always talk about the PGMs, but they matter. They matter to most scrapyards. Most are intaking catalytic converters from their day-to-day, like car buying. Some have converter buying programs. So
they matter
it
probably
helps.
to some yards more than others. Like some yards, because of the whole, stigma behind converters and what does it take to buy them and be legal about buying them and selling them, which is something that we are like working pretty in depth on over here on our end. And we're super excited about, like especially next year. Like we got a pretty good plan to roll it out. But I mean, ultimately, it's because we are big buyers of converters. For us, those platinum, palladium, rhodium, prices matter to us, so we pay pretty good attention.
Well, long term, it seems like the outlook's pretty good on all three of those PGMs. Why is the outlook good on them? Is it because we need the material? There's not enough of it. It's hard to mine it out of the ground. Is it a variable of all the above?
I think emissions requirements, from not just the United States, from other countries. I mean, as of today, that's the technology that helps with emissions, platinum, palladium, rhodium. The other thing to pay attention to is, platinum, palladium, and rhodium has a bunch of other industrial uses other than just catalyst, right? On your catalytic converter underneath your car. So, as more uses and more green energy and more green technology stuff comes out, platinum, palladium, rhodium is found in some of these applications. So there was a year, 2 years now that not as many cars were built because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a year and a half, 2 years where, the amount of production was down, which required less catalyst, which kind of dragged those metals down. But if we start building cars again and at a decent pace, and the emissions requirements are only becoming greater, right? And the population is still growing. You have other countries that they're not prepared to have an all-electric car, an all-electric grid to power cars. I mean, even in the United States, as ahead of the schedule as we are, we're not prepared for all-electric vehicles. They're still going to build internal combustion engines. It's still coming. That deal isn't done. So we feel like the demand for PGMs is going to be strong.
And some other countries are really pushing the hydrogen car, too.
Which involves a lot of platinum.
That involves a lot of it. So if things shift away from electric, or maybe it's electric and hydrogen cars.
It's going to be an and world, right? Yeah. Like it truly is. Like it's going to be mining and urban mining. It's going to be electric and hydrogen and internal combustion engine. Like there's no one size fits all for the whole world. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. So even if you can get more electric buy-in in here and in China or wherever, you're still going to have a lot of countries that don't have nearly the grid capacity capability that we have, the money to spend on building that out. They need internal combustion engines. And if you truly are going to, if you're truly going to fight emissions, you need platinum, palladium, rhodium. So my gut says the future is still pretty bright for those metals.
Well, if you want to hear more about PGMs and converters, feel free to, if you can make it to SEMA, enter our contest.
Yeah.
Come, we'll be chatting about it. We have a whole team going down there. We're going to kind of dip into a little bit of what we've been working on. So stay posted on that. Now to our bread and butter, the base metals.
Yeah.
How are they doing?
Copper's off this morning. Looked like 4 cents-ish this morning. Aluminum's a little soft. Nickel's seen a little bit of strength, but he's hanging around that $10.
But really, last week, I mean, we broke 350 copper, for a little bit. For a little bit.
For felt like a second, right? Or it wasn't that long, but yeah, we did break it.
We break it for a little bit, and then it came back to the mid 340 range. It's dipping to the low 340s today, but it's really been hanging out 330 to high 340s.
I saw this morning that China's China's GDP was like at 3.9 or whatever, it was higher than expected. So that number can be manipulated pretty well sometimes, and I think that's just kind of is what it is, but still beat expectations. So if the zero COVID policy starts to get tweaked or changed a little bit, and some true demand comes back, because the Chinese economy, from everything I read, is struggling, and they're not. I don't see them allowing that to just happen and just say, we're just going to allow it to struggle for 5 years or a year. Like, I feel like there's going to be some monetary response. There's going to be some, economic stimulus, and with that comes stronger copper pricing, stronger platinum, palladium, rhodium pricing. And if we can get a little break in the dollar strength, that doesn't hurt our cause as well.
Last thing, we're 8 days away from November.
Yep.
Iron's still gonna trickle down.
Sideways to soft is what my gut says.
Mm-hmm. Seems like a lot of these mills, they have enough iron on the ground still.
It does. It feels like
there's not a lot of big orders.
Yeah, for the real consumers, their inventory is plentiful from what people I talk to. So it's not a big demand thing. I mean, you really only got November, and December usually is a half-ass month at best. So I don't see the end. I see the end of the year being sideways-ish at best.
Maybe a little soft, a little dip.
Yeah, I mean at best sideways.
And maybe into next year we see some gains again, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean we can only hope, right?
Yep.
But no, I'm just looking forward to finishing out our year strong, cleaning up some inventory, and getting ready for 23. Obviously, getting ready for SEMA next week, which is going to be a fun show, a big show for us, and just keep the wheels on the bus, like I like to say.
All right, thank you, Brett, and thank you, everybody. Have a great week.
Have a great week.